Hello.
Emily,
Yes.
it is Brianna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm sorry. I apparently think the whole country's on Eastern time. I'm not.
Oh, it's fine, girl. It's okay. I got it. I totally get it. I literally just saw your text and I was like, oh my God, what time is it? And then I'm like, oh wait, no, it's good.
I was like, I just called her, but hold on. I'm supposed to this person was waiting on me or whatever, and I was like, hold on, let me see what's going on. You and your husband are a team, right? You guys have this team ordeal, and you not only board, but you also train and you show horses and stuff. You sell horses too, right?
Yeah, we don't really board as much. We're mostly just training, but we have two boarders that ride in the program but just board their horse and take lessons kind of thing. But mostly everything else is training. But yeah.
So that's cool. And you guys don't do colt starting. You just take some. Well, you do colt starting.
No,
what all do you do?
Yeah. Most of that will only take people that are interested in showing the horse kind of thing. We kind of don't just do any old horse that comes along anymore.
Right. Well, I think you got to be picky in a certain way, so that way you can concentrate on the thing that you guys are really trying to concentrate on, which is you guys are mainly reined cow horse. That's what you're trying to just particularly do, right?
Yeah, so we keep trying to push the focus onto that so that we can stay in the same, I guess you could call it zip code as we're supposed to be. We're not far enough along in being horse trainers to get basically every horse in that's going to be this great show horse. So we have a very large, what most barns would call it as a non-pro, but we don't even have that. We have an very amateur-friendly riding program at this point, because we haven't evolved those amateurs into the non-pro level yet. But we have the pieces in place and they're coming. So I would call us a baby training barn. We're baby horse trainers is what I tell people all the time.
Well, I think it's a good, you reach a good part of the market, really, because, a lot of people are just trying to get into it. So, I mean, that's to your advantage, actually, to be able to take on people that are just getting their feet wet, because, it's intimidating for somebody who, I never did rein cows. It's kind of intimidating to even consider the fact of just going straight, trying to go top-notch, big show, so that's something.
We kind of went that way, because we both, starting out, we both had a lot of horse knowledge. My husband, he team roped professionally his full young adult life. He literally team roped for a job. So, and then
I didn't know that.
Yes, he comes from a strong team rope background. So then I went to NTSU and graduated there with a pre-veterinary science degree, with emphasis on horses. So I have a lot more of the formal, collegiate, in quotation type training where, I participated in the equestrian team and rode collegiate and did all those things. So, we both have strong backgrounds in horses, but we didn't have the reined cow horse background. So starting out, we went to a pretty top-notch show barn. And, not that was a bad thing because we learned a lot, but just being in that environment, it's not always the most welcoming environment for people who don't have horse knowledge. So, starting our barn, I wanted this environment of where people could walk into a warm place where they felt 100% comfortable to look like a complete goofball and start from the bottom and work their way up. I want people to feel okay to look a little silly at first and not be hard on themselves because they're not getting everything right away. I wanted a more welcoming environment in that aspect where you're not getting that feeling of what are you doing all the time, you know, where you're really out there trying to figure stuff out and you feel like a complete major idiot because you're not getting very small tasks. They're just not coming to you. And, you know, I feel like so much of that is so hard on people that don't, you know,
Did
most
you have a
of
bad
our
training
brothers,
experience?
I would say I've had a few, but I struggle a lot with self-confidence, and I always have.
Yeah.
And then I have some like issues from my past where I don't feel well with people yelling. And that's sort of a whole nother long story in a nutshell on its own. But if people yell, my brain turns off. And it is directly stemmed from like being in a very abusive situation as a young adult. So, you know, I have that I battle with. And then I'm that person where if I don't get something right, I will beat myself up mentally. And by the time 5 minutes goes by, I'm a no talent, no account rider, and I should have never got on that horse to begin with. And I've talked myself out of even being in the same room with the people training me. So I guess I have a different view of it. I have the view of it from when you're starting out and you don't have any confidence because you don't know what you're doing. And I'm not even the person who doesn't know what they're doing, and I felt that way. So I guess I'm super sensitive to people being in an environment where they can learn.
And people have different learning styles. I can say that. I know that you could take two people and you could put a trainer and a person together and they just don't mesh. It just don't work. And then turn around and switch them up with somebody else, and then all of a sudden it just works. So I get that. But that's cool you guys offer that.
Absolutely true. Yeah, and that was like our biggest thing, and just, you know, our number one thing is to make sure people are in an environment where they feel comfortable learning around their peers and watching all of their peers do the same things they're learning to do. And then two, like, we put the horses first no matter what. And that means a lot of different things. It means, you know, reminding people that aren't getting something that, you know, maybe it's, you know, it's not the horse. The horse has the skill. You've got to modify the skill. You've got to try to put that horse first and try to fill it out to where the horse is understanding what you want, like, and all aspects of making sure these horses stay sound, making sure they're not pushed to a point that we're breaking them down physically to where they can't be sustainable for it to be a lifelong horse. And, you know, making sure that they're not going to be crippled when they're 10, you know, like giving them rest when they need it, giving them time off when they need it, and just to be an advocate for the horses themselves, if that makes sense.
Do you think the rein cow is less strenuous on a horse compared to other disciplines?
I think that it can be really hard on them because horses they're only made to do so much physically. And the more you push and the more strain that's put on their body, I mean, you're obviously putting them in a position that's compromising. But with that being said, I also feel like NRCHA, which is why we show NRCHA, they have rules and incentives and the age events that allow you to take the right amount of time to get a horse physically ready to be a bridle horse when they're 7. So there's, you know, there's snaffle bit year, and there's 2 hackamore years, and there's 2 rein years. All of those years gives them time and put everyone on the same playing field to prepare that horse to be and have a lifelong bridle career. And that's what I really do. I'm a huge advocate for the way that NRCHA is set up, because you do see some of these associations where they're showing a 3-year-old one-handed. And I don't really necessarily feel like that is a good thing for the horse. You have to push a horse to a certain point to make that happen by the time they're 3. And, I just don't feel like that should be allowed in weight. I feel like they should, have a few more aged events like NRCHA does than they do in some of the other associations.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, because, depending on who it is and where they are, you have places out there that won't even touch a horse till they're 4. Like, won't even touch it.
Oh, absolutely. And some of the English disciplines, I know a lot of the warm bloods, they grow so long. And it takes them a while to be physically ready to even have a person on their back, let alone being broke at 2 and snaffle bitten at 3. It's a lot on a horse. So we're trying to put our stamp on it and stand behind what we're doing. So I think that's extremely important for us and what we're trying to promote ourselves to be. So we're pretty disciplined with all that kind of stuff around our place.
Well, that's good. I think that's a very good thing to be an advocate for. I didn't know that about NRCHA. I didn't know that they had, I know you have like the snaffle bit, security, you have a couple of different areas where people, can show a snaffle bit.
Yeah, so NRCHA, you have until they are 6 years old, you can show in a snaffle bit, or you can show in a hackamore, which is kind of like what most people would term as a Bosal, like a bitless bridle kind of rig. And when your hackamore years are your 4 and 5-year-old years. Showing in just a hackamore running a cow down the fence at 9-0 on a 4-year-old, it takes the right cojones in a rider, but it kind of limits what you can do in certain ways, if that makes sense. So they're not pushing these horses to be one-handed in a bridle. And
I thought a hackamore came before the bit.
Do what now?
I thought, I rode in a Bosal. We called it a Bosal. We didn't call it Bosal. Yeah. That's the swanky word for it. But basically, that's what it is. Before I went to a bit, you're saying people showing a bit and then go to a Bosal?
Yeah. So that we will start a horse without a bit. So like when we start horses, they all get started in a loping hackamore, which is kind of sort of like a rope halter with
it's just a Bosal. It's one of the same.
Yeah, but it's a nylon halter basically with with the right reins on it. But we start them all that way. But then probably about 6 months in, we go to a snaffle bit and teach them all the ins and outs of that and the cues they need to know. And their 3-year-old year in October, when they go to the snaffle bit security, that's what you show in, just plain old snaffle bit. And then their 4 and 5-year-old year, you go back to a hackamore, which the hackamore is one of the most competitive divisions that there is. People get really into it. Because there's so much added money in it. So the level of how difficult it is like out the roof. Because that horse has to be so responsive off your leg and the touch of the reins. Because you can't really pull on a hackamore. So you're kind of like limited with what you can do with the reins. And you're basically riding that horse with your feet. So that's why
I can see that.
Competitive, because that level of difficulty is, out the roof. So it is a very competitive couple of years in a horse's life. So, and then they have a thing called their 6-year-old year. They show in what's called a 2-rein rig, which is a small little Bosal with a bit. And you put both on, and it teaches that horse to transition from a hackamore to a bridle, to a big bridle. So you'll see people in those kind of rigs. Well, that's a whole nother year where you have special stuff you can show in.
Do you think the competition is a lot different coming from, you said you did collegiate, right?
Yes.
Do you think that type of competitive atmosphere is different going from that to a more professional, well, that's the wrong word, not professional, but, like open association, non-college type atmosphere?
The thing with collegiate riding was way more nerve-wracking because you literally draw a name of a horse out of a hat, and you get on that horse, and you adjust your stirrups, and you go in the arena. Someone leads you to the arena gate, and you go into the show pen, and you show a horse you've never ridden.
You've never seen it or nothing?
Nothing. You draw a name out of a hat, and they take you to the horse, and they say, here's the horse you drew. You literally...
There's no point in practicing.
You adjust your stirrup, and you go in and show it. And, when you're in college, at my years at NTSU were not as well, the team was not like it is now. There was no stock course team. You had to show English and Western to do the team because nobody at the time there wanted to show Western. So you had
really?
to both. Yeah. It was a way bigger English program at that time than it is now. So you had to show both. So that's how, I even learned to ride Western, was because I had to do both, and then I just fell in love with it and stuck with it. Like collegiate riding, you're drawing a name out of a hat. You've never sat on that horse before. And you go in an arena and you show a horse you've never been on, and you have to figure it out and figure out how to get it around while you're showing.
I would need a shot or a Xanax, one or the other.
Girl, it was nerve-wracking. I'm telling you what. That's why that people will joke, I can get any horse through a class only because I rode some rank old nasty school horses. And back then, now people will donate horses because they're proud and want to help the college out. Back then it wasn't like that. You're riding junk no one wanted and couldn't sell, so they donated it to school to get a tax credit.
Well, I was fixing to say, has this collegiate come up a lot?
Oh,
Is it more popular
1,000.
now than...
Here it is definitely, the team, I would give my left arm to have had the team they have now when I was in college.
Well, wait, how old is Will, roundabout? I'll be 40 this year. Are you near me or younger than me?
I'm 38 this year.
Okay, so we're in the same area. So I was fixing to say, when I was showing, which might probably the same time you were back then, this collegiate stuff, you didn't hear of that. It was not, maybe it was happening, but I didn't hear about it.
But then it's big. It's just big now. It's really competitive now. And they have, all kinds of other different things you can do. It's super cool for me to go to the Tennessee Stock Horse shows and see the MTSU team actually showing it something like that. Because the whole time I'm sitting there and I'm like, dang, I wish I could have had this when I was in college. I would have been all up in it, for sure.
Yeah.
And that they get to show, since they're not doing the ISHA, they get, or the, whatever it was, the Intercollegiate Horse Show Association, they get to show their own horse, which would have been amazing and way less.
Yeah. Yeah, I give you props for just hopping on something you've never seen. That's pretty badass.
And that's when I felt dumb. So I was crawling on horses' backs and taking them over fences. I don't know if I could do it now. I'm just too scared, but back then I didn't care. I could ride anything. All it was nothing. So.
Well, hold on. I don't think you're scared. I think it's probably like me because I had that little horse a couple of years ago and everybody was like, why don't you just get on it? And I'm like, I'm older now. First of all, I got nothing to prove. But second of all, I can't afford to get hurt. So we'll let somebody else do it.
It's a little like that, but at the same time, and I didn't really get shaken up until a few years ago before we ever started training horses. We were practicing team roping, and I had this old gray mare breaking half on me as I was throwing my rope over a steer's horn, and I mean, scared the bejesus out of me. Bucked so hard it broke my billets on my saddle, like, flung me in the air so high. I mean, I hit the ground like a ton of bricks. It was awful. And ever since then, I've lost, like, a slight little tinge of gall. So, like, I used to be able to ride anything. It could buck. It could fall down on the ground. It didn't matter. I didn't come off of nothing. And ever since that happened, if one bucks with me, I'm like, oh, no, I'll jump off. Like,
I don't blame you. I don't blame you one bit, because if you have never, there's a good saying, I don't trust anybody that says they ride if they ain't never fallen off before, because you obviously ain't been riding yet.
And Josh is not that way. He's scared of nothing. Like, when I say, like, I've never seen a person ride like him, he could ride anything. Like,
so Josh is not scared of anything, which I can see that, but
no, he can ride anything. It's wild.
There's got to be a sense of fearlessness.
No, he doesn't. He starts most of all the young horses, which I used to love starting horses. Like, it was my favorite thing. Like, when we first met, every young horse we got, guess who started on it first? Me. Every time. And ever since that mare tossed me, I've been a little, like, not as confident in the fact that I could stay on anything. So I have not started a horse since that happened. And guess what I have to do, like, literally when we move my horse next week?
What?
I'm starting my own baby, and I'm going to take her to snaffle this maturity in 2 years.
Well,
so
that'll be cool.
I'm going to try to do all the work on her myself, which is saying a lot. Like, and it really wasn't going to happen that way. Like, Josh was going to break her for me and put like 120 days on her and then hand her over to me. And I run my mouth one night. And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess you're going to break your own horse then now that you're like, you got all this confidence and whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'll break her myself. I got it. And then immediately when I said it, I was like, oh, crap. And then he was like, all right, well, I guess you're breaking her yourself. And ever since then, I was like, oh, no. Because let me tell you, this thing I got coming up is a firecracker now. Like, she's not playing around. He's trying to, like, beat me up and, like, get me all ready, you know?
Yeah. Well, you got to have that, I think. I mean, you know, it's
Absolutely.
cool when you have, like, a little cheer squad to help keep you going and things like that, because it can be very self-defeating in horse business. So.
Absolutely.
So what, you guys are all showing for a while, though. Your next show isn't until next year, right?
Yeah, next show's the middle of January. I think like the third week of January. So we got a little while at home.
Well, that's cool, even though the weather.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Now, you're from Tennessee, and Josh is from Tennessee too, right?
Yes, he's from Tullahoma, and then I'm from, like, near where we have the barn in Robertson County.
Mm-hmm.
So we're both Tennessee natives, which is rare, but we are.
And you just visited, though. Didn't y'all go to Vegas, or did y'all go to Arizona? Where'd y'all go, where I saw cactus posts and stuff?
Yeah, we went to Vegas to watch the Run for a Million.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was so fun. We had a great time.
Is it as big of a, like, I don't want to say the word hype, but was it what you expected it to be, or was it more, like, because it's a big ordeal. Like, you see it on social media and everybody gets ready for it. Like, it's a big thing.
It is a big thing. We really wanted to go because they added that cow horse challenge. Dude, I have not sat still for so long in the longest time, but, like, we didn't move our butts from seats. Like, it was that good of it was that fun to watch. And then cool. They have, like, all of the shopping and booths and, like, I mean, it was super, super fun.
I can imagine the shopping was probably out there. It's kind of like they say, what's it called? Cowboy Christmas now at the NFR. Ain't that what they call it?
Yeah.
And
I bet it probably wasn't quite that big, but it was a very fun time. I would definitely go back.
So how many horses do you guys have now currently that are just yours?
They're just ours?
Yeah.
Ooh, you're going to get me caught now, making me claim this. Okay, so we each have one show horse, and it's never Josh that's the problem. It's always me that accumulates too many horses. I'm the worst about it. Let's see. So we each have a show horse. So let's see. It would probably be we each have a show horse, and then I have two babies. So I have the coming 2-year-old, and then I have a weanling. And then, let's see, I have 2 retired horses at home. And, and we have the one lesson horse. So how many is that? 3, let's see, 4, 7. We have 7 horses.
That's a part-time job.
It actually is. Yes.
It could be borderline full-time, too, if you're just doing it by yourself.
Yeah, and then, so total trade, because all those are not at the big barn, those are at home at our house. So
wait, you go to another barn? Y'all have another barn? You have 2 locations?
Yeah, we have our training barn, which is in Springfield, and then we have our house, which is like 20 minutes away.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And you guys are just starting to have clinics too, right?
We have done a clinic or 2 here and there. So we don't have the most time for all that, to be honest.
Yeah.
We have so many horses at the barn right now that we're running ourselves ragged just trying to keep everything written.
Yeah.
But we've had one here and there. So those are okay though.
You'd rather concentrate on the training?
Yes and no. Like I think that having clinics is fun and great, but I really think it benefits other people more than what you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah.
Yes,
I mean, well, that's probably the purpose of them, but
it is. It's basically to reach other people.
yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it really gets me behind on my own work, if that makes sense. So it kind of like you take from one thing and then you got a snowball going on somewhere else, I guess is a good way to put it.
Right.
So, but, I mean, we had a good time doing them. It was fun. We did like a clinic that was set up sort of like a show for people that have not been able to show in a long time and are too nervous to try to like get back out there. Yeah. And I mean, people loved it.
Now, what kind of, so you just touched on, well, not just now, but, you know, you talked about the bad wreck that you had and how it's kind of changed just a little bit from the kind of rider that you were before to now. What have you done or what are you doing or what would you like to do to help you continue to make progress in that? Because the self-confidence part and the whole self-hype and having a cheer and all that kind of stuff in horses is really, really important. I don't think people realize how kind of important it is because, you know, our sport, well, I don't ride anymore, but horses in general, the sport is hard. It's a hard hobby, sport, profession, whatever you want to call it, because we're working with a live animal. So,
right, absolutely. You know what? To be just real honest with you, I've tried lots of things because I was never like this before, you know, the past few years, and I've never had, so I guess it also stems from the fact I've never had to work hard, and I don't mean work hard like, I've never had to try hard on a horse. I've always been very natural with anything to do with horses. So when I started working cattle on horses, although I worked for a cutting trainer for a long while, I am not natural on cattle, if that makes sense. I can't read cattle as well as I would like to. Now, I think a lot of people are that way that didn't grow up around cows because I was never around cows before 10 years ago. You know, I didn't grow up that way. So I think for me, when I am able to get on my horse and go in the arena and I'm able to ride my horse and really focus on what my horse feels like underneath me while focusing on what the cow's body language is telling me, it gives me a lot more confidence than if I go in there super worried about my own riding and where I'm sitting and how my legs are and how I'm going to be and what this is going to do and trying to like force myself to be perfect. I can be a whole lot more confident in myself. If that, does that make sense? So I think
You mean
for me,
riding rein cows versus other disciplines?
Absolutely. And I think that that's taken some more confidence out of me. I think having the wrong trainer has taken a lot of confidence out of me because, like I told you, I have my own personal struggles with some things. So, like, you know, obviously, if I'm in a situation where people are yelling and my brain wants to shut down on me, there's only so much I can do about that. So there is that element of trying to prepare myself to be coachable and talk to myself and keep my brain calm and keep my brain doing what it needs to do to make connections between things. I think that telling myself I can do it versus going into it being worried and negative helped me more than anything. Mm-hmm. And I find the most confidence out of the times when I'm riding by myself. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to worry about who is watching me and what's going on. And I can sit and I can feel the horse underneath me and not have to worry about who's around and what's happening and whatever. So I think there's times where in everyone's riding career, literally just being able to get in the arena in fresh dirt on your horse with nobody hollering at you and nobody asking questions or watching you is like the best medicine really for getting that feel back. Because I think as riders, our feel gets stolen from us from our self-talk and our mental worries about what we're doing when we're riding and our disconnection from our horse. Because I think feel comes from connection with the horse. And I'm not one of those people that will sit here and say that, you know, there's lots of people that will sit here and look you right in the eye and tell you, you can't learn feel. I don't believe that. I think that there are some people that can sit on a horse and they can feel it right away. And then I think there are people that have to work towards it. Mm-hmm. And I think that when we lose
Why would you not be able to learn feel? Who said that? That's crazy.
People will tell you that you can't learn that. And I think for me, I was told that I didn't have a lot of feel as a rider and that I would, you know, that's something that I would have to just learn around it because I would never get it. And that is one of the most damaging things someone's ever said to me as a rider because I do have a lot of feel and they just didn't know how to coach me, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
Because I put them in a position where they were at a loss for how to coach me doesn't mean that I don't have any feel as a rider. And, you know, it's kind of, in my mind, it's kind of crap a little bit, you know, like I think that people struggle to find that because they are sitting in the saddle having a literal panic attack on the inside because they feel defeated and lost and off track and, you know, they need someone in their corner telling them it's coming. Your breakthrough's coming. Like, you're going to get there. If you keep working, you're going to get there. Like, I won't look at someone and tell them they can't do it. I will look at someone that might be a very limited rider, and I will look at them and I'll say, you know what? You have a lot of things to work on, but if you're diligent and you get to the barn and get in the saddle, we can fix this. And I've seen people overcome. I've worked with a dyslexic rider that did not know left from right and outside and inside. And I've had to use colored stickers on their hands and use colors as directional terms instead of right and left. But you know what? If I have to stand out there and scream blue for left and red for right at you, and that's what works for you, I'm willing to damn do it. Like, I don't care, because when you succeed in my heart just grows, and there's been times where I've seen people do like the most stupid thing on a horse that you would think anyone could get on there and do. And I've seen people conquer stuff that they're trying to do walk a right circle, and they finally get that right circle. And I will be jumping up and down on the sideline. Like, you don't have to do something what other people would term as big for me to watch your struggle as an individual and, like, do whatever I have to do to make you succeed. So, like, I think that...
Well, none of us were born on a horse. I mean, like, we weren't born. Nobody was born. So for anybody to look down on somebody, or I can't stand that. This will get my blood boiling. For people to bully or look down on or pick on somebody that's excited about something little. Okay, well, screw you. That's really important to them, and they've not done it before. And last time I checked, nobody was born on a horse. Like, somebody started from square one. Everybody did.
And I'm a little bit like that with the horses that are a little limited in their ability. Like, I am like the underdog, like, queen of underdogs. If somebody told you you can't do it, oh, you just buckle up because we're doing it. I don't care what. I will get out there with you for 4 hours if I have to. You want to talk about somebody swallowing crying out of sheer joy. Yeah. Like, I literally, when this particular situation happened, I was on the railing outside the show arena, jumping up and down and screaming like a psycho. Like, because I couldn't hold it in. And then cried like a whole baby because I just was so proud of the horse and the owner. Like, I couldn't even function. And that is just me in a nutshell. Like, I think it's from where I've been told, like, the wrong things in certain situations. And, I've been told, oh, you're just not going to get it, and that horse will get used to you not being able to do it. And I'm like, looking around now at that, I'm like, boy, you really, like, you bowed out before having someone great. Because, like, if those people that quit on you like that and give you the easy way out, if they would see what's in your heart and what kind of tenacity you have, they probably would have never said that. And they probably would have, like, stuck with me a little longer. And then when I've gotten those skills down, boy, it makes you freaking proud, like, inside. And I guess that's
sitting here. Why do people limit the result? Like, okay, I mean, I'm not a trainer. I have no desire to be a trainer or do any of that type of stuff. But to me, it was always like, okay, well, if this person and this horse ain't mashing, let's change something instead of just going, oh, you can't do it, or oh, the horse can't do it. Let's change to a different horse, or let's change the way we're teaching the person, or let's change something that's going to be a catalyst for whatever the issue is, instead of just like you just said, just quit. Like, they just quit. Just drop it off and just quit. You can't do it. The horse is bad. Okay, well, no, the horse is in the wrong situation, or this is not the right horse for that person, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, it's a thing. Like, I mean, and there are a lot of training barns that, oh, you can't get that on the horse. Let's just get you another horse. Man, I ain't about that. If you tell me you're done with the horse and, hey, I'm not really vibing with the horse, let's sell it and get something else. Okay, all day long. But if you tell me I really like this horse and I really want to make this work and I want to get these things down, like, I'm gonna work equally as hard as you do. And if you're at the barn 3 nights a week, riding after work at 8 p.m., guess who's going to be out there with you? This one. Because if you're willing to, like, work that hard, I'm going to be working right alongside you, and I'm going to be watching what you're doing with your horse. And I'm going to be, in my mind, watching that rider, and I'm going to be thinking, okay, she does this with her legs. She does this with her feet. How can I make myself modify what's happening and the disconnect between the horse and the rider? How can I fuse those things? Like, and I will sit there and be like brainstorming in my mind and trying to tweak things to where when I get back on that horse, I'm like bridging the gap. Yeah. And I'm constantly trying to like figure out how, okay, well, they're not very good on loping on the left lead. Like, how can I get this horse to where it's automatic or it can, like, pick up where this person is not quite as good? Like, I don't ever tell people, you're really bad at this, and that's why the horse won't do it. Sorry. Like, I will never say that to somebody. I will work as hard as I can, and if I get to a point where horse or rider are miserable together, and they're just really not getting it, and I've put in every single effort and every tool in my toolbox is in use, I might say, hey, how are you feeling about you and the horse together? And I will open in that, though. I don't ever tell someone, this is not the horse for you. Unless someone comes to me and they're like, I don't know what to do. I feel like this isn't working. What do you think? Then I might be like, I think we can find you something better, or I don't ever try to blame someone for whatever's happening. But I also am not going to look at you and be like, you're never going to get that. So move on to something
that can be
else.
crushing.
Like, no, I've been there. And I think that's where I have built some confidence back. And I mean, I did have the bad fall. I'm not saying it's not the bad fall that took some confidence. It took a little gusto, a little wind out of my sail. But I would say more so having people tell me I can't do it and like falling into that. Because, man, I'll tell you what, building that little hinge of like what I will term as tenacity, I've started to build that up in myself, and I'm becoming pretty dang resilient, which is really what I need. Because, my husband, he is very mentally tough. He is very disciplined in very many ways, and he's very OCD. Well, I'm very, like, distracted and, like, I'm kind of all over the place, and I struggle to stay, like, mentally focused, where he's very extremely, like, regimented. So he always tells me I will get in these places where I'm, the night before I'm showing my horse, I'm out on the flag, and I can't make a right turn. And, he'll look at me and be like, really? You can't make a right turn. Like, you've gone too far. Like, you've got to reel yourself back in. You've got to get strong mentally. This is how you make mental toughness. And he'll give me these pep talks, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here. I got it. I'm back. I'll snap right out of it. But like, I've really, like, this year has been about getting that tenacity in myself, where when people tell me I can't do it, I don't go, yeah, I probably can't. I'm looking at them, I'm like, hey, you want to tell me I can't do that again? Because I need to hear it one more time so that I can literally go out here and curb stomp you in the show pen. Like, go ahead.
Well, you can be your own worst enemy. Like, you could be in your own little world against yourself, while everybody else on the outside is just kind of like, what? But
it's taken me a minute to take that and turn it around. And I think that's also part of my hang up is like, allowing people to do that to me.
Yeah.
And, that's the next part. You watch my partner in crime here. He's out there freaking. He's killing it. He has the perfect horse for him. He's got everything down. He is out there crushing. And I'm a couple years behind him, in a lot of ways, So there's a lot of things that I would say I'm a little better at than him too. But,
you can't let him have all the glory now.
That's right. I have to look at him and be like, how can I be that? How can I get myself to the point he's at where I'm winning and earning checks and making money and I'm mentally tough and I'm not letting all this other stuff get in my head and ruin my gusto for the weekend. So I don't.
Well, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad because you're not the only one that's like that.
Absolutely not. I know I'm not, but I've got to where I can look at him and be like, this sounds really funny, not really know how to put it. Hell yeah. I am where he was 2 years ago. And you know what that means? That means in 2 years, that's going to be me. And that might even be shorter than that if I just get my mind right. I'm there. I'm knocking on the door. And that's getting to that point has taken me a while. Because it's been a battle for me. Like I said, I'm not natural with cattle, but I'm the first one to tell you that. I'm not good at reading them. I'm not good at a lot of these things. But if I don't start putting a little confidence in my band, I'll never get there. So I've had to reach down and find the things that do make me more confident. And like I said, those rides alone where I can really get in tune with my horse and feel him and really almost become, which is a joke, but avatar, man. We're connected. We're on it. He can think what I'm thinking. He knows where I'm at.
Love
he knows what
Pixar movies.
and luckily for me, I have the most perfect, forgiving, best horse in the entire world. If it weren't for me being a complete goofball and not being ready, my horse is just as good as any. I have a really nice horse, and
yeah,
his nature has allowed me some time to really get my mind right. And I think this next year, building up to when we go to Art of the Cowgirl 1 year from now, I think we're gonna be pretty damn unstoppable.
Now wait, the Art of the Cowgirl, is that a show?
It is. It's in January.
You done taught me something. I thought that was a showcase.
It is. It's a craft fair, but it's a horse show. And I
did not know that.
It's World's Greatest Horseman for Women. So it's 4 events: fence, cutting, reining, and steer stopping.
Good for you. That's cool.
I've been obsessed with it. It was my 5-year goal 5 years ago, so it's time. It's here. It's now. It's happening. And what happens?
I think that's cool.
If I don't get my butt out there and go do it, then I'm just going to keep sitting on the sidelines watching everybody else do it. So we're going to go do it.
You're way ahead of the game just by going and doing it. I'll tell you that because, well, I can't tell you that. Everybody in the horse industry knows you have couch trainers and then you have people that are actually really doing it. So.
Right. That is right.
I've noticed that. Do what?
No, I said that is right. That's the way it really is out there. If you just sit around and wait on it to come to you, it ain't going to work. So.
Nope. You got to go do it. That's absolutely true. You cannot learn, you cannot grow, you cannot succeed at anything if you don't try. And you've got to already just prepare yourself to fail because in order to learn, you have to fail certain things at certain points or figure it out. It's just how the world works,
Absolutely.
So that's going to be when?
That'll be 1 year from January. So, it's going to come up fast. So we got this year to try to get ready. I've got some coaching halfway lined up for me and him for a trainer that is a very good roper. So that'll be good. And then, got to break the old ropes back out and get practicing again and get my little butt ready to go out there and try it and see what happens.
You're going to get up in the morning and look in the mirror and go, I know cattle like the back of my hand.
I do gotta start telling myself that, man.
The morning affirmations. I saw that people do that. And you know what? It actually, I'm not laughing at it. I'm really not, because, you act on what you think. And if you tell yourself even nonchalant things like that, if you get up and tell yourself, oh, okay, well, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm this or I'm that, and you think it's just a joke, you'll end up actually thinking it. And so,
no, and that's part of, that confidence you need to win. You have to think you're the best. Even if you're not, you have to really believe it. And that is, the hardest. That's the hardest thing for me, because I'm literally, looking around at all these badass riders that I'm surrounded by, and I'm like this last horse show when I learned I had to go in the class with everyone else, and I was like, what are you doing here? You don't belong with these people. You can't ride in this. And I'm freaking out, and then I'm then just has this whole mental toughness conversation with me, and now I'm like, you can do it. You can do it. And I'm this whole, I'm so dynamic with it. I'm either one extreme or the other. I'm never, find, the middle ground. I'm either, completely hyping myself up, you can do it. You got this. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Or I'm you're the worst that ever is and ever was. So I'm
I think that's awesome.
I gotta find the middle ground somehow, I suppose. But
no, I think it's freaking awesome that you're doing that. I think it's awesome as hell. I think it's badass because, it's very easy to get caught up into what you've had other trainers say to you, or people tell you can't do it, and it's very intimidating. It's just like when you start going to the gym and you don't want to walk into the gym around the people that are already fit, because it's very intimidating. It's not a cop out. It's not a trigger. It's not any of that crap. It just is what it is. It's intimidating. And, a lot of people easily just back out and go, you know what? I'm not going to deal with it. I'm not going to do it. No, it's okay. But the fact that you're even fighting it and keep up and keep going and keep going and keep going, before you know it, you'll be exactly where you want to be. And not even, it'll be just second nature for you.
Absolutely.
So I think it's awesome.
Well, thank you. I'm glad someone does. But, I'm kind of whatever. I try to be really honest about where I'm at, and I don't hide things well anyway, because I'm extremely, I do not possess the ability to be fake, which is actually very annoying sometimes, but, I just don't have it in me. I don't have a good poker face. So I try to be pretty honest with people, and the reason I do that is because, I find there's not a lot of people that will tell you their struggles with confidence, because people hide that. It's not something anyone's ever proud of. So I'm kind of in my mind, hey, if I could help one person through a struggle with all of the crap that I struggle with, if telling people about it will help at least one person, then that's something I didn't have. So
yeah,
maybe it can help someone else be the best they can be at some point,
or at least relatable, in the sense of being relatable, because just knowing that other people go through or are going through or have been through something that somebody else is going through, you can build a connection with that. And that's kind of cool too, because there's a lot of riders out there that are not confident. And it's cool to know somebody else can relate to.
I try really hard I try to be that cheerleader for people, just because I know it's not something that you get easily in this business sometimes. So, like I said, we really try to I try to make everything a big deal that somebody accomplishes, not because I'm doing it to be fake, because I really feel I guess I feel people struggle more in depth than most people would in ways.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's fake. Fake is when you're like nice to somebody and they turn around and you talk crap about them. To me, that's fake. If you're cheering somebody on,
fake.
and oh yeah, that's fake. But if you're cheering somebody on and overhyping it and making it a big deal, no, that's not fake at all. That's doing your job. That's doing a good job.
Not even that big of a deal, but when I see people struggle with things and then I see them get them, man, it sends me over the edge in happiness. So,
but sometimes you need that self-love, though. I mean, I'm not going to knock that at all. I mean, as far as
I don't know, people need
sometimes
that.
you do need
Absolutely.
that.
Sure do. Everybody does. But
yeah,
no, it's been a fun couple of years, and it seems to be growing. So, I mean, guess we're doing something right somewhere, you know? That's all I think.
Owning horses is like saying, why am I doing this? God, I love this.
That's right.
I didn't have I can't think of anything else. I'm glad we talked about the whole self-confidence thing because I think that's a big deal. And a lot of people, not to use the wrong words, I don't want to say fake. A lot of people mask it. That's probably a better word. A lot of people mask the struggle, but it is a struggle. You know, I think I actually read on a post in a group one day, this girl was kind of asking about, she was literally going, what do y'all do to help yourself? And I don't remember, she did rodeo or barrels or something. And I remember reading some of the comments, you know, a lot of people struggle with it. You know, one girl was like, I taught myself how to breathe better and breathing exercises and things like that.
That's actually Josh's. He's done, because, you know, although he on the exterior looks unshakable, like if you ever watch him show, like he looks like, I mean, like you look at him and you're like, wow, he's like really tough. Like, well, he's learned to breathe through things like that, and he has his own whatever. I don't have problems with that. So like, I've always done certain way of breathing in the show pen. Like for him, like he would tell me he'd get so nervous he would feel like he was gonna faint, and that's what he trained himself to do, was breathe a different way. So it definitely works.
Yeah, that's what that one girl said. There were a couple of different comments. You know, some people take things and stuff. You know, again, you're sitting on a 1,000-pound animal, so if you have not once at least been scared at all, well,
you're probably not doing it right. I would say that's right. I said you're probably not doing it right if you've never been scared.
Right. Yes. Nail on the head. You just hit. Yes, exactly. You're not doing it right if you ain't been scared.
That's right. You're not going hard enough. You need to try harder.
Right. I had a bad fall once too, and I'll never forget it. And that was probably the first time. You know, you go so long, like you said, you go so long being able to ride comfortable. You don't think about it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden you're like, Mama, can you come hold this horse?
I'm gonna need a minute. I'm gonna need a whole minute. I gotta calm down.
Please.
That's funny.
I'm not scared to admit that, but I'm glad you said that. You ain't doing it right if you ain't never been scared.
No, you're not. I mean, I can't imagine. I've been scared a couple times. Actually one time, dude, I have the funniest story. And this is just like one of the stories. Actually, Derek would probably kill me if he knew I was going to tell you this story. So one time, a long time ago when we first met, so this has been, probably 8 years ago. I mean, it was like a while. It's been a while ago. Maybe 7 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
We're at home where we had, you know, set up our farm where we had a pretty nice outdoor pen. It had lights. Like, we had a round pen we could set up to break horses or tear down or whatever. Well, we had a younger horse tied to the round pen that was like secured to a fence, you know, like probably not as good as it should have been or whatever. And I'm out there working this horse I have, who was kind of out there, and my horse was working so good, and I was like, he's working on my feet so good, I bet I could ride him bridleless. And he's like, I bet you can't. And I'm like, yes, I can. So I pulled his stupid horse's bridle, This is such a terrible story. You're going to die when I tell you this. So I pull this stupid thing's bridle off, and I'm sitting there like, all right, so I'm going to ride him bridleless. So I go to lope him off, I'm, walking and trying and making sure I'm not going to die. And
Right.
so I lope this stupid thing off. Well, right about the time I lope this horse off, the horse that he was about to ride tied to the round pin panel got its leg hung in the round pin panel, set back, rips the round pin out into the middle of the arena as I'm riding this freaking horse with no bridle, and that horse freaks out and run off with me with zero bridle on. Okay? So I'm literally like about to die. And so I'm like panicked. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Like, and he's like trying to get the horse to stop. And I literally in my head just go, just open your feet and say, whoa. And so I opened my feet and I said, whoa. And as soon as I opened my feet and said, whoa, that sucker like locked it down. And I almost flew over his head. He stopped so hard. And so I literally was shaking all over, and I jumped off, and the horse just kind of looked at me like, what are you doing? And so I got off, and I was like literally about to pass out. I was so scared. And Dirk was like, okay, don't ever do that again. Now,
was the other horse okay?
Oh yeah, he was fine. He just scared himself, Yep. Gotta take a few risks. Get your face a little sweaty and scared before you know really what your life's about.
I remember when I was younger, we, when I say grew up around horses, my dad went on this whole, I said I wanted a pony, and the next thing you know, we had they were breeding them, and my mare, we raised her and all this kind of stuff. And, when I say raised her, she was born here, and we raised her here, and, we halter broke her, we did all that kind of good stuff. Well, when I was younger, probably 6, 7 years old, maybe 8, I did not listen very well. And my parents told me, don't go running up behind horses. One of the basic things, don't run up behind them. Don't clap around them. We didn't tiptoe around our horses by any means, but you just tried to do basic safety. I'm a 6-year-old, okay? Don't run up behind the horse. Well, I thought it'd be a good idea to run up behind a little girl. At this time, she was probably 1.5, something like that. Both of her back legs come flying up in the air and struck me on my jaw, just barely struck me on the jaw, and pushed me back, or fell me back, I pushed back to the ground or whatever. And I distinctly remember getting back up and running to my parents. And they looked at me and they go, that's what you get for running up behind a horse.
And you're like,
so guess what I never did? I never ran up behind a horse again.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think people realize what they're getting into a lot of the time. I've had people comment to me things like, well, I guess if we got a horse, it would change our lifestyle. And you're like, yes, you're on the right track here. People they don't even realize the work that's involved. You'll have people that want to come take lessons, and they come in and get the horse, and, they ride and then they go home. Well, they don't see the millions of hours put into effort of taking care of these horses and making sure that they're, vetted, taken care of, vaccinated, feet done, teeth done, all of the million things that don't even involve us touching them. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't even count, grooming them, cleaning their stall, making sure they're fed, cared for, taken care of. I mean, people just don't realize what effort is put in a lot of the time. And it's not because they don't want to realize, it's just because they don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it probably takes you, for me, I would say you're going to spend at least an hour-ish just cleaning stalls and feeding.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
that's even if you do it twice a day. It depends on if they're up or if they're out or if you move them and how many and you're rotating and stuff. I mean,
Yep.
add 2-3 hours to a normal family's work day. That's a lot.
Absolutely. It is when you're already working 40 hours a week.
Yes.
A lot of people don't have that kind of time to put into something else, but
Right.
no, I absolutely agree. I mean, it's a lot going on for somebody that's not used to having a whole nother hour or two of work. And that's not even the enjoying part. Like the part that you can actually enjoy the horse. Like you got a whole lot of work to do before you ever even get to the point where you can do anything else with them,
Yeah.
Kind of
No, I
wild.
was fixing to say, that doesn't even include the riding and having fun. I mean, if anybody's never trailered to go to a place, hell, you spend half of the time that you're at a show actually getting to the show and getting ready for the show.
That's right. If it's gonna be a worthwhile situation, then you are obviously going to have every desire to do it. And if you don't, then you don't. It's sort of like one of those things where you're, it's either worth it or it's not. Nice to have an actual conversation, it turns out, Nobody really asked about me that much. So I'm like, hey, people asking about me. This is kind of cool.
Well, I think it's cool to put a context to the people too, because me and you do you guys order from me and stuff. So it's cool to be able to put an emotional context with somebody and kind of get an idea.
I definitely agree with that.
Messaging can be weird.
It can be, and people take things so wrong. It's it's crazy sometimes when the way things are taken out of and people will put their own flair on stuff you say, and you're just like, that is not what I meant.
I completely know. I 110. Trust me, I 110% agree.
And you're just like, what? And it comes out a whole nother way, and then you're sitting over there going, what the frick just happened with this situation? It's happened to me a million times where I'm like, how did this go from this to what? How did I get here? What happened? What just happened to me?
No, I think social media has a lot to do with it because I've been on both sides.
I would agree with that.
I've been on
I would agree.
And the side where I've said it wrong. So,
well, yeah. But you got to be able to admit that crap and go on. All right, hey, I didn't really mean it that way, but let's all be friends and go home happy.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally agree.